when I told my partner Maxim about that, he said, well, Megan's pretty cool, but there's nothing hip about you. You probably all agree with that, but I'm not there. I'm delighted to be here today and to be part of this important event happening in 11 countries around the world today. When I think of every year we participate in Pride in Halifax, and every year Pride continues to grow, and the Pride Festival continues to grow. And the Pride Festival, in many ways, recognizes how far we've come as a society. And today, we're recognizing how far we have to go as a society here in Canada and around the world. I remember a little story in the 2004 election. I was campaigning in a restaurant in Kentville. There was a table with 4 ladies sitting at it. 3 were very nice. 1 was cold as hell to me. She refused to shake my hand. That's usually a pretty good sign. She said, I don't think much of some of these votes you're having in Ottawa. I said, well, what are you talking about? She said, I knew what she was talking about. But she said, well, same-sex marriage. And I said, well, first of all, this is civil marriage. It's not religious marriage. It's completely different. You will never tell a church, a mosque, a synagogue, or temple how to define marriage in their religious institution. And it said right in the Bible, render unto Caesar that which belongs to Caesar, and render unto God that which belongs to God. This is Caesar, this isn't God. It's consistent with the Bible as such. You always have to, as a gay politician, you have to know enough of the Bible to defend yourself against the bullshit. I'm saying that to somebody who was baptized in, taught Sunday school in, and ultimately married in the Chevrolet United Church, I'll have you know. But after I explained this to her, she came back and she said, well, if that's your position on same-sex marriage, you won't be getting my vote. I said, well, if that's your position on same-sex marriage, you will not be invited to my wedding. I am so proud as a Canadian to live in a country where such equality, such diversity, and such freedom is not tolerated, it's celebrated. And when I think of the important decisions that have been made over time that have helped result in this remarkable Canada, a beacon of social progress for the world. I think that I was born in 1967, and in 1959, homosexuality was decriminalized. In 1982, we had the Charter of Rights and Freedoms that has led to so much social progress in Canada. In 1999, we had same-sex benefits extended to federal public servants. Just think of that. Up until 1999, federal public servants did not have same-sex benefits. And of course, in 2005, I remember that vote in the House of Commons when we passed same-sex marriage. I remember the cabinet discussion. I'm not going to divulge everything we talked about in cabinet, but I remember at that time I thought same-sex marriage was a good idea in theory. I thought it was an important social progress. I just wasn't sure I wanted to participate in it personally. And I said to the Prime Minister, I said, Prime Minister, I support this legislation on one condition. He looked at me, and all the ministers were looking at me, and I said, as long as we don't make it compulsory. You don't know how important these decisions may be in your own life, and I can't imagine my life not being married to Maxime St. Pierre. So, when I think of what it took to have this kind of social progress and these kinds of decisions throughout Canada's history in the last 40 years. And the word that comes to me is leadership. It took leadership. It took people, it took politicians to be ahead of their time and to say what was right and to do what was right. Over the last 40 years, Canada has moved forward. Over the last 4 years, Canada has moved backwards. And I'm not going to be partisan today, but I am going to defend Canadian values. And the Canadian values of equality and freedom and diversity are important Canadian values that instill pride in each and every one of us. And I will not attack somebody on a partisan basis, but I'll attack people who attack those Canadian values. And Stephen Harper attacks those Canadian values. And we cannot... At a time when the world is looking for Canada and needs a Canada that defends rights and freedoms, that helps to export those values to make a difference around the world, we have a Prime Minister that instead of promoting these remarkable achievements and these important Canadian values to the world, is trying to reverse this progress here in Canada. Stephen Harper is bad for Canada, and he's bad for Canadians, and he's bad for Canadian values. And I learned that we have a Minister of Citizenship and Immigration who actually intervened, whose office actually intervened to cut gay pride or to cut equality out of the new Canadian Citizenship Guide. I felt sickened as a Canadian. And my message to Jason Kenney is very clear. You may be able to, as a minister, cut equality and gay pride out of your conservative Citizenship Guide, but you cannot cut equality and gay pride out of the hearts of Canadians. Look, I'm not going to tell you how many conservative ministers I've seen at gay pride parades across the country. That's between them and their Prime Minister. Well, I'm glad I'm not part of that bunch. To be ashamed of being at a pride festival is kind of ironic, isn't it? But you cut funding for pride festivals. Not only an important celebration of what it means to be Canadians, but an important economic generator across Canada. Surely you could sell the journal an economic growth, but you see them cut something that's actually good for economies and good for people and good for celebrating what it means to be Canadians, means that they don't represent Canadian values. I'm sitting here with how proud I am of Canada, how proud I am of a country where I walk into a rural high school in Hants County or Kings County, and I have students come up to me and say, "My name is Kathy, this is Jim, we're part of the Gay Straight Alliance." And how proud I am to be part of a country where, across Canada, it's not just in urban Canada, there's a cultural condescension in cities that somehow rural Canada is not as progressive. If rural Canada wasn't as progressive, I wouldn't be here as an MP from rural Nova Scotia. Shouldn't we gay pride is every time maximum I go to the corner store. I'm really proud of Canada. I love this country. I know you love this country. And I think you feel like I feel that I want my Canada back. I believe you want your Canada back. You want to ensure that we have a Canada that moves forward, that defends the rights of all. And a Canada that helps around the world making a difference. Whether it's in maternal health in the developing world, where we ensure that women in the developing world have the same rights to safe abortion that they have here in Canada. Or whether it means defending against transphobia and homophobia around the world. I really believe that Canada, as we have in the past, can punch above its weight in this area. We have made a real difference. Good decisions, leadership has made a real difference in the lives of Canadians. Let's take our Canada back, let's get our act together, and let's start helping people around the world making a real difference in defending these rights and these values. I'm delighted that you gave me an opportunity to play some small role in this event today. I want to commend each and every one of you for your activism, your passion, your commitment to these Canadian values. We've got a lot of work to do, but I'm confident when I look out at the faces here today that we're going to get it done. Thank you ever so much.
Thank you very much, Scott. And as some of you know,